This was one of the most life altering experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It is not a retreat. It is not a retreat at all. It is one of the most difficult, one of the hardest, one of the most frustrating, confronting things that I've ever done. I thought that quitting weed and tobacco and coffee and all these things and being healthy with my body, I thought that I was like proud of myself and like, oh, like, you know, like I can do things. No. It is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to quitting your thoughts. For the very first time in my life, I met myself for the very first time. I don't like to live with age, so I'm not about to say how old I am, but you know, I'm not 12 years old. And for the very first time I met myself, because you don't actually meet yourself until you're in an environment like that, where you're with 40 other people. You know, actually it's maybe like 70 or 80, but the guys and girls are cut in half. So you're with 40 other guys, but you're not allowed to communicate with any of the guys that you're with. And there's no talking, there's no expressing yourself. There's just you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you meditate from 4:30 until 6:30, no 5:30, and then you have breakfast and I don't know, I don't want to go through the whole schedule, but it's like you're just meditating all day basically, and then you have some small breaks for eating, and you know, you are able to, like, you know, sleep in your room during some of the breaks or whatever. But like, what this does to the mind is fascinating. It is fascinating. Oh my God, like I can't even put it into words. I'm gonna really try. You know, and the thing that stopped me, that brought me out of my focus in meditation the most, was in a way this video. Because it was actually going to be a podcast. You know, I had so much to say. I had so much that I was like, okay, I'm going to do a solo podcast, and you know, I realized that, I realized so many things, but like my mind is probably everyone, you know, but like I feel like my mind especially is such a storyteller. It loves to tell a story, and it's very good. This is the through line between all the things that I do: writing songs, making videos, dancing, performing, whatever. It is the storyteller. I love to tell a story, and it is this voice in my head, which I didn't realize always comes from the right hand side. And when I would try to do like math to test it, the math would come from the left side. So I don't know what this means. I don't know. Left brain, right brain. I'm very, whatever this side of the brain is, that's the one that I am. And it's always telling a story. And it would be, something would be happening, and then the story would start in my head of like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like just telling, because that situation was so intense and so singular. There was really nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. I don't know where to begin. The thing... sounds have really been like very, very strong since this experience. God, where do I begin? Oh, this storyteller part of my brain. So it's always telling a story, and I've realized that this is what it's a good storyteller. You know, this is why I can spend so much time alone, because that storyteller is so entertaining. He's saying jokes, he's clever, he's brilliant, you know. But I also realized that it's actually blocking me from the one thing that actually exists, which is this moment, now. If you're thinking about in the future, you're telling some story, or you're telling some story about the past, you're actually blocking yourself from this moment. And for the first few days, it was so difficult. I could not turn off that voice, and it was so frustrating. I cannot tell you how angry it was, because you have no... I can't even put it into words. It is just incredibly difficult. And Oh my God, where do I even start? I don't know. I'll start with like the end, okay? Like what happened because of this situation. Yesterday I was walking, I was walking home, and I was walking down the street that I walked on before so many times, and it's this beautiful street, they have all these kind of like fancy houses, but this time it was like I'd never walked this street before in my life. Like I was so present and so happy. Just I stopped and I stared at a tree for like 5 minutes. Actually, it was more than that. Like just like mesmerized by this tree, this beautiful tree that has these beautiful pink flowers. And I'm watching all these birds. And at one point, I was watching this beautiful little bird. That's another thing. When you meditate so much, and when you're not online, and you're more present, nature becomes like a drug. It becomes like a like a action movie, okay? And I was watching this bird, and it was so fascinating how it would go in and out, and it was like inside of this bush, and then I look up and then I see the pink tree, and then I look in the sky and I see these other flock of birds flying by, and this plane, and like all of this happening at once. And like it was like actually overwhelming. Like I had to start laughing because it was overwhelming at all of the sensations. And also, like when I was there, being in the nature, like looking up at the stars every night, it was so the nature was so beautiful. I cried one day looking at the sunset because the sun was setting, and it was like raining in the distance, and it was just like it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And also, vipassana, you're meditating anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a day. It has nothing to do with meditation, which was very surprising to me. I wish that I would have known more, like what it was that I was getting into, because I went in blind thinking, oh, okay, like I'll just figure it out as I go. I like to, be surprised. Boy, was I surprised. It was like it's actually like it has nothing to do with meditation, and then it has everything to do with meditation. It's basically like a philosophy, and I'm going to explain this to you in the best way that I know how, and I'm sure that it's nothing that you haven't been taught before, you haven't heard before, and I'm sure that you go, oh yeah, that makes sense, because before I would have said, oh yeah, that makes sense. But when you're in this kind of situation, and when you're practicing this technique and this kind of philosophy and this way of living, and you're meditating so many hours, you get it at an experiential level. From your experience, you understand something. And I realize there's such a difference between when you experience something from your experience and when you know something from your head. Completely different. Sorry.
That's all right.
And it's just like completely different. And also, what else I've noticed is everyone seems so nice. I seem so calm. Like usually, like I walk down the street and I'm all stressed, and like I'm trying to like get to where I gotta go, and I need to go in front of the cars. And now like I'm letting the cars pass, and people are waving, and like it's like this has changed my life forever. Meditation, this philosophy has changed my life forever. So, anyways, the philosophy is basically is understanding the universal truth of impermanence, that every single thing materializes, stays for a while, and then passes away. Everything. There's not one thing that doesn't do this. This is a universal law of nature. Everything arises, stays for a while, and passes away. And the brilliance of this teaching is it's teaching you that to hold any sort of craving for anything, for something that is just going to pass away, is only going to create misery in your life. And also, to have any sort of aversion, of meaning, oh no, I don't want that thing, it is only going to create misery, because this thing is going to arise and it's going to pass away. And so you're retraining your mind to become the observer, actually to become really you, rather than reacting when a situation annoys you and you just have this automatic response to react. And it's so opposite from how I am. It's so opposite. I'm this, I think of myself as this artist and this emotion-based person, and I follow my emotions and whatever, but I also realize that I've known for a while that I'm very reactive. And what this teaches you is it gives you a space. You get into your breathing, you focus on the sensations in your body, and you become aware of the sensations before you make a sort of reaction. And having this awareness that everything is impermanent, and that when you feel a good feeling, it doesn't mean that you don't like to feel that good feeling. Of course it feels good to feel a good feeling, but you also have the understanding that that good feeling is going to pass away. This is a universal truth. And similarly, when you have a feeling that doesn't feel good, some sort of pain, like the sound like the sound of that car, you can understand that it's going to fade away. It's going to stop. I used to be so annoyed at that noise. I used to be so annoyed, but it stopped. So it is this understanding that it's this understanding that of being less reactive and becoming the observer, and understanding that everything is impermanent. And so it's about reducing, and also it's like what they teach is like this is the source of all misery and all suffering in the world comes from our deep conditioning patterns of either, ooh, I really want that, I really want that thing, I want that feeling, I want that person, I want that substance, I want that feeling, you know. Or, oh no, I don't want that, I don't, oh, that feels painful to me, that's uncomfortable, that's discomfort. To have attachment to either of these things is the root of all of our suffering, and all the things that go that make it so that we are not peaceful, that we are not in, the word that they use is equanimity. Equanimity is when you don't react, you know, you're you know, I don't know, I'm trying to condense 10 days of teaching down into like a few minutes, you know. And so you just become more peaceful, you know. And so there's some things with the teaching that I don't 100% agree with. One of them is that they don't allow yoga, and I got in trouble there for doing yoga. And what's very interesting is that I realized I'm gonna become a yoga teacher. You know how strongly I felt. Look, you see the little bee. How strongly I felt about this, and about seeing people's posture and seeing how much pain people were. I understand that pain is kind of part of the experience. That's why it's not a retreat. You know, it's painful. And like the sound of birds is like so beautiful. Talking is like, sometimes it takes a lot of energy now that I haven't done it for so long. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, yoga. Okay, so yeah, so is it still recording? Yeah, it is. Okay, 14 minutes. This is gonna be a long video, whatever. And so I basically realized, what did I realize? I realized how much I love yoga, and because of my yoga practice, and because I didn't use any sort of like cushions or anything when I sat down, I was forced to be in good posture, and I was the only person out of like, I don't know, maybe 80 people or 90 people that didn't have any sort of cushion. And that was my first time meditating. and I had more energy than everyone else. I was able to like get up and start running, and I wanted to communicate to people because people just had really poor posture. This is the thing that I see even from the teacher Goenka, who's like he's passed away now, but they show his videos and he's so intelligent. He's like Yoda. He's literally, I think that they took the inspiration from Yoda from him, because he's just so wise, this wise human being, but his posture is also really terrible from I imagine from sitting, many years of his life in a poor posture. And so this was something that I got into an argument with the teacher on. I made the teacher very angry. I think he told me that he wanted to kick me out. And this was like, that's a whole other topic, a whole other conversation. Like I realized that he basically like became like my father. I have this problem with authority. I always question authority. If you listen to my songs, you can understand. But I question authority. I think because my father was so strict growing up. They say that your relationship with the government is similar to your relationship with one of your parents. If you had parents that you really trusted growing up, then you're not going to be distrusting of the government. Generally, this is a generalization, but I find it to be true with myself. I didn't trust. I was always just like, why is my dad so strict? And I would question his rules, and I'd be like, that doesn't really make sense. And so this is a little bit of my pattern, but I also realized that I don't want to react always in this way. I think it's important that there are people that question those in authority, and I will always do that, but also I just want to be more loving about it, and also be more understanding, more compassionate, because I have no idea what this teacher, what he was actually going through, whatever. I just saw some qualities that I feel I was like I didn't really like, and it reminded me of my dad, and that triggered something in me, and I basically I made him like snap, basically, which I felt very proud of, because I was like, yes, I took the mask off, and I was able to, my intuition was correct, but then I also realized that this is not coming from a place of like love, and I just want to come from a place of love and compassion. And there's just so many lessons. There was this Italian guy, isn't it? Okay, I have my very first, in 5 minutes, I have my very first therapy session. This is crazy. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna make this really quick. But there was this Italian guy that I was so like attracted to, and it was so difficult, for me. I was like, okay, I need to. It was really a practice of me to not look at him, to not fantasize about him, because when you're in this situation, you don't have any stimulation. These kind of thoughts, they can overpower you. He wasn't even Italian, is what I realized in the end. Anyways, but the universe kept bringing me towards him. I had to switch seats, and it moved me right behind him. I realized that his room was right next to me. He always wore this shirt that said Atlas on the back, and that's like my name online sometimes when I don't use the name Chief. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's a sign, and he was like so attractive, and it was like, he was the person that I was most focused on and that I most was excited to speak with. And he was also the only person that I saw running in the back, like with no shoes, as well as I did, even though this was against the rules, And so I don't know, I just felt this pull towards him. And I'm talking to him on the final day we're allowed to talk, and oh my gosh, like the amount of things that I realized from talking to people is just how many things I created in my head. And anyways, I was talking to this guy, and I was so honest. That's the other thing, was when you're with people for 10 days, it feels like a at least from me, I have such an attachment to connecting with people, an over attachment, I realized because it like a craving that's way too, that it's just, I want to be more, to not have such a strong craving, but anyways, this Italian guy, he wasn't even Italian, I was so honest with him in front of everyone. We were all just sharing our experiences, and I said, yeah, I had this crush on you. I'm sure you probably like girls or whatever, and it was a big teaching for me to not be focused on you. And he was like, that's so interesting, because you, he said to me, was the person that was the most triggering to him. So the person that I was most attracted to, that I most wanted to have this connection with, I was the most annoying out of everyone, 40 people, the most annoying to him, because I was behind him and I was breathing so loudly, and he gets so triggered by people that do things that he thinks are unconscious, and like loud breathing and loud noises. and so we just had like a beautiful connection, and I also realized as I was talking to him, yes, he's a beautiful person, but also like so much of this attraction was just created in my head, you know. And I was able to share with him, yeah, I have breathing problems because I had a surgery when I was younger, and so that helped him to see like my point of view, and it was just like so beautiful. And like at the end, like I don't know, there's just so many lessons. There's just so many lessons. I want to do another one of these courses. I think I'm going to be more like, because I broke a lot of the rules. I think I broke all of the rules. I think I didn't speak to anyone else, but I did sing very quietly. And I tried to sing only when I was in the back and I wasn't near anyone, but I was like losing my mind, and I had to sing just very quietly, you know. But then some people told me, oh yeah, I heard you singing, and that made me feel bad. So in the future, I would like to try to be a little bit better at this, but oh my god, now I have a meditation practice. I woke up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. Who wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning naturally? Me and all of us that did this experience, you know. And I'm gonna start meditating an hour in the morning, an hour at night. I just feel more present than I've ever been in my entire life. I feel like by shutting off the thoughts, you know, I wasn't able to totally, completely quiet my mind, but I was able to get it so much more quiet. And what happens is that the thoughts that do come up are actually so much more high quality, and it feels they're like less like thoughts, and they're more like, whether from the subconscious or whether from some other realm or from some higher power, who knows. I just have so much wisdom now on what I need to do with my life and where I'm going to go. And one of those things is I'm going to start making 2 videos a day. I'm just going to become less perfectionistic. I'm going to put things out there, and I just have so many lessons that I've learned. I've learned that I need to have less attachment over my dream in order for my dream to come true. You know, I've always known that, but now I really feel it. And so I'm going to start doing things that I never would have done before, but just to release the attachment of being such a perfectionist. I think I have to go now and talk to this therapist. And also, like, everything like that's happening, like my life is like, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. It was an incredibly difficult, hard experience. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. To not be able to express myself was so hard. For me to not be able to connect with people when I have such a craving, a love, attachment, whatever you want to call it, to connecting with people. What else was hard for me to I mean, those were kind of like the 2 things, you know, that were kind of like hardest for me. And also like yeah, just okay, I could talk for 10 years, but I don't want to do that. You know, I've said enough. I highly recommend it. If you have any more questions, any information, you want to know more information, send me a message, and I will gladly give you this information. It's donation based. And so, you know, there's 2 delicious meals every day, vegetarian meals. You know, I was eating better there than I have in a very long time. Like, the meals are delicious, and the fact that it's all like volunteers and that it's all donation based is actually so incredible. I learned so much that I won't share here. Do I have time to tell my amazing story? No, I don't have time. I gotta go. I love you. Mwah.